Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to another episode of Cities Skylines. And last time out, we had a live stream actually, and just to firstly say thank you to everyone who showed up because that was the funnest live stream I've done so far. It was, yeah, it gave me some proper giggles. But what we did was we came in and we decorated up Williams Memorial Park, or Monument Mount as I was calling it the other day. And I think, do you know what? I think it looks a hell of a lot better than it did. There's obviously still some areas that we can brush up on at some point, maybe add in a few more flowers or trees into these recesses here. And I know there was a lot of people shouting out, which I failed to see for quite a long time, for lower hedges as well. So that is something that I am looking into. These hedges we can't lower into the ground, so they are what they are. But I also really like the aesthetic of these hedges. So I will have a look and see if we can replace that. So that's something we might come back to in future episodes. But for now, it is going to stay. But yeah, super happy with the results of that. And let's just have a little quick look at nighttime view because, the fountains, everything. I just love it. I just love it. And a lot of that was down to your suggestions on the stream. So thank you so much for all of your input. And of course, in the last episode before the live stream, we did put in Carina Marina that we have here. So starting to flesh out this final island on the Bill Air train that we have going on with a bit more high density residential along the marina front. But there's still quite a bit to do on this island, so that's what we're going to come on to today. However, first up, there are a couple of things that I do need to address. So the first one is this little problem that we have going on here in the middle of the screen, which I spotted from doing the first person tram ride through the town, which is a rogue lamppost on the middle of our tram tracks. Really frustrating to see. So let's get rid of that. And what we can do here as well, so what I had done originally is put in a path here, which is why there's that lamppost in the middle of the track. So let's just firstly go ahead and delete that. Because what we can do here instead, which is a much more sensible solution, is to add a crossing to this node so that people can cross the tram track there, exactly like that. That's what I have done in other places, and I'm not sure what I was doing here. Clearly lost my mind, but there we go. So the trams should no longer run through that lamppost there, which is good news. And the other thing that I did spot as well on our first-person tram ride tour was this little market stall here, which is far too high. So what we need to do is just lower that back down to earth so that it's not floating in midair anymore. And there we go. So that's a lot better than it was. That's a lot better than it was. And so one other thing that I did want to do, which was suggested by Jim Toiger, was to change the colour of these trams, because actually it is a safety hazard to have black trams running around our city. People wouldn't be able to see them. And yeah, it's dangerous. So thanks for pointing that out, Jim, because that is a very good point. So we are actually just going to change up the colour of these trams a little bit so that they are a bit brighter. So I think instead what we will do is go for a nice light turquoise colour. Like that. So that it kind of goes with the waterfront, because this is a waterfront tram here. So we can have that for Woodhaven Line, which I think will look a lot nicer and, of course, be a bit safer. So, yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Now, a couple of other housekeeping things before we come on to today's build, and that's a couple of names. Now, one of them is one that I'd actually missed from ages ago that I had meant to do, which was the name for the power station. So this suggestion came in from IT20, and it was to call it Bill Watts Power Station. So that is definitely what we're doing there. I really like that name. Another play on Williams, obviously. So yeah, I like that a lot. So Bill Watts Power Station it is. Thank you, IT20, for that suggestion. And the other one that came in was from the first person tram ride. And if anyone's seen it, there was an old man, and do you know what? He's still stood in the middle of the road. All right, let's just zoom in and have a look. He's still there. He's still there. So because of this, there was a great suggestion from Baloney 1988 to call this district the Iron Grandpa District. And I know it's silly and crazy, but do you know what? I'm all about having fun. So That's what we're going to do here. We are going to call this district the Iron Grandpa District. And I will check back later in the episode to see if he is still stood in that road. Is that a permanent fixture? I don't know. Is he stuck there? Maybe he is. He's waiting for a taxi. Okay, he's been waiting a long, long time. I'll tell you that. Let's see if he's still waiting for his taxi at the end of the episode. Now, just before coming on to today's build on the island, I took stock of a few things. Services-wise, we're actually doing okay. Healthcare is absolutely fine. Fire coverage is a little bit patchy in some places, but in general, it's okay. Police, we're actually fine for, and that jail capacity has not been a problem since we've popped a few more police stations in, so the jail build can wait for sure for there. And actually education as well. High school's on the edge, but there's still a few spaces available, so we're all okay there. We do desperately need a university, and do not worry, we are coming on to that. I am trying to get to a population of 17,000 before we start that, because we unlock the Liberal Arts College campus, and that I think is what I would like to use in this area over here, and save the trade school probably for closer to the downtown area. But one thing I definitely noticed was public transport and the fact that we are missing a few routes. So having a look at our lines, I can straight off see that there is absolutely no public transport up to Williams Memorial Park, into Monument Valley, or to Lockside Quarry either. So that we definitely want to address and bring some public transport into here, particularly because that would be quite a high tourist area. And actually we can see that the tax office is red already because it doesn't have any transport options to it. So that is something that we need to address there. The other thing that I would like to do as well is extend the ferry line out to this island. And I know there's a lot of people suggested bringing it into the marina. However, I think instead of that, I am going to bring it so that it runs alongside the marina and out to a ferry dock over here. The reason being that I feel like the ferries are quite large and the space that we've got here is relatively limited. For it to kind of realistically turn around in this small space, I think it's not that realistic. So instead of doing that, I'm going to bring out some more dock over here, some more quays over here, and bring the ferry in so that it docks over this side, and keep the commercial and the leisure sailing, boating options, whatever you want to call it, separate for this area. So for the public transport over here as well, we're going to extend the tram line because we've got this nice tram interchange here that actually only one line is coming into at the moment. So I think it would be a great idea to have another line coming out of there and going round Monument Valley and up to the Memorial Park up there. So we have put in our lines, and I can see already that there's quite a few people waiting to pick up the tram from Monument Valley here, and also over at the tram hub over here as well. We've got quite a few people, so that should be quite a busy line, I think. And I did avoid putting any stops on this road because this is going to become quite busy, I think, with the intercity bus station here. There's buses coming and going with trams as well. I think it could get pretty busy here, so that's something that we will need to keep our eyes on there. But there aren't any tram stops, so we shouldn't have any traffic caused from that with the pedestrians queuing up to get on the trams or anything like that. And yeah, just brought it straight up and through here. But what I do realise now is because we had parking along the road here, there isn't any parking here. So I think it would be a good idea to just put in a very small parking lot here. And what I will do is just bring it round the back. So yeah, there we go. So that should help them out a little bit with this commercial high street there, just having that bit of parking in. Right, so I think that is really it from a public transport point of view. Yeah, I did put in the ferries. The other thing with the ferries is that because hardly anyone was using, slash no one, let's face it, was using the ferry line between here and there, I think because the tram runs along there, so it's just, you know, it's much quicker with the tram. What I have done is sent the ferry line for the moment from Prepare to Market all the way up to this island here and then back down to Woodhaven, and then diverting exactly the same along that line, so from Woodhaven to the island and then back to Prepare to Market, so that I'm assuming people might use the two different directions there, but we'll see. Again, there's a tram running from there to here, so it may not get used. Let's see if we've got anyone in fact even waiting. We don't. So yeah, that's just completely pointless. But do you know what? I think when we get down to the downtown area and we have a few more ferry stops going in, and for example a ferry running across here, so across this lake ocean area that we have going on here, then I think people will definitely use the ferries. What I would like to do here as well is just tidy up the quays around the ferry here. So we're going to put in a connection for this road here. And I'm thinking actually we will just bring it out this side and just simply curve it in. We'll make it slightly shallower curve that way and then just bring it down. I'm thinking actually I might bring it down to another car park at this end. And yeah, bring it just out like that, and then we can do a little bit of detailing around it. But with the keys, let's put those in. So I would quite like to keep the curve here. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is put in a section that actually doesn't meet it. So if we just draw in a section like that and not connect it for the time being, then what we can do is move it around and adjust it so that we get it into the position that we want. So it meets this key, but it isn't actually connected. So we get that kind of that tight corner that we couldn't get otherwise. So like that is not too bad. And then we can use a bit of brush tool to tidy that up on this corner. So the pavement will look a little bit wonky because the ground is bumpy underneath it, but I think that's absolutely fine. Like, it's not so bad that we need to worry about it. And then what we will do is do the exact same the other side. And actually I'm going to bring out the one with the wall here now, the simple quay wall, because we're not going to have boats or anything attached to this side, so I think that makes sense for here. And then what we can do is just bring that round in a nice curve to kind of sink into the ground this end to represent the end of the quay there. And then, yeah, what we can do in the corner here, I think, is a little bit of rock detailing, something to sort of cover up that area. So if we could have a fairly large rock in here, it might look quite good, actually. We need to see if we can find one of the right size. So this one could fit quite nicely in here. We just make sure those small rocks aren't spilling out onto the road here. It doesn't matter if they overlap the edge of the car park a little bit, but we definitely don't want them on the road. But yeah, I think that's sort of a nice natural barrier down to the car park here, and behind the quay wall there. Yeah, so quite happy with how that looks, I think. And it's nice seeing the turquoise trams going backwards and forwards, actually, in the background. I'm liking that. And oh my goodness, do we have people using the ferry? I'm seeing a whole swarm of people coming down there. We do! We have liftoff on the ferries, people. Oh, we've got people using them. Maybe I just looked at it too soon. Okay, that's exciting. They are in use. They are in use. Let's just have a little look at this one. So we've got 24 passengers incoming. Are they all going to get off at this stop? Let's just speed it up and have a look. I'm thinking that they must be, because there was no one using the other line between the two stops, so they must be coming up here. Yeah, all of them have got off, and actually no one's got on. So yeah, okay, interesting. Well, they're being used. That is the main thing. That is the main thing there. That is very exciting. Okay, now back to today's build. So what I would like to do in here is some tiered residential. So we've got a little bit of a slope in here already, but actually I think I'm going to even make this hill a little bit more pronounced. So we put on the topographic lines, it's significant, but it's not that significant. So what I would like to do is, yeah, a lot of tiered high density residential housing going up onto a bit of a peak here. I'm going to get quite a large brush size here to fill up most of this area. I'm going to turn the strength right down because it's absolute overkill with this tool. And we're just going to try and slowly raise up this point here just a little bit more. So yeah, it's just a little bit higher, and that's probably actually slightly too much. So let's just knock it back a tiny bit. And yeah, that's not too bad. So I will as well, just before we do this, let's clear out a lot of these trees so we can see what we're working with, and then we can put them back in where we want them afterwards. Now, obviously, the issue with this is that as soon as you put in a building, the terrain flattens behind it and it creates really sharp, steep-looking cliff sides, which just honestly don't look very good most of the time, but there are ways around that. So yeah, let's just have a little look. So for starters, I'm just going to bring out a road connection here that we are going to build upon, and actually we'll do it slightly further down so we have a little bit of flat space to play with up front there. We'll turn snapping on so we get a nice angle off this road and bring it nice and straight in across here. So, okay, the first assets we are going to use in here, just bog standard, high density, vanilla assets. And these buildings go really well together to make quite a nice little pattern. So I will show you what I mean. Let's take one of them here and we'll place this on the corner. And actually what I do want to do before we start is definitely get rid of those trees. So we absolutely do not want those trees on these buildings because they interrupt the flow of the pattern when we're trying to put buildings together to make slightly different shaped lots. So yeah, if we have one like that, then what we can do is spin round another one so that they are literally back to back, and yeah, place them together. So what we want to do here is kind of look from bird's eye view to line up the back of these buildings here. So that is smooth and straight. And then what we can do as well is just make sure that they're the same height, because we're going to bring out a road here, make a bit of a cliff, and then we're going to fix it. That's a plan for today. So yeah, they go in really, really nicely. And what we will do as well is obviously reset this one so we get the same colour of building so that it really does look like one large residential block there. And we can bring a road out down the back, so we'll bring some parking out down the back to make sense for those garages there. But yeah, that goes together well. And then the other thing that we can do with these, so we make a bit of a bigger, more uniform block. And actually before we do that, I will just bring this road out here to make sure that we get this in. So yeah, there we go. That just gives us a very small car parking lot at the back there. And then what we will do here is actually make sure that this is a raised road using refined road tools. And actually we will bring it out. I'll do a slight curve and then we'll bring it out quite straight. So I'm going to turn snapping off so we get the angle right here. And I'll turn it back on so we get a nice 90-degree angle and bring that out straight like so. So it is going up the hill a little bit. And what we can do is just raise that up a tiny bit. And then, of course, use slope tool to make that a nice even slope all the way down like that. And then let's arrange these houses in front of it. And I'll show you what we will do to decorate that up to get an tiered housing. And there we go. So we've got our blocks of residential in here. So we've got just this one back to back. And then we've got these kind of, I don't know what shape you call them, like back to back shapes as well, but slightly different. But yeah, it works quite nicely like that. Like all of the walls fit together super, super smoothly. You have this little inlet here with the door in the back and the trash can in there. There's a couple of doors in there, but all the doors and all the outside of the building works really well like that. So it, yeah, is kind of believable in that sense. And what we will do at the back here as well is just bring out one of the pedestrian roads. Now, of course, what we want to do here, because nothing is straight working on slopes, is use Move It to make sure that everything is completely flat and in line here. And what we do want to do as well is just grab the terrain, bring that down to a much smaller brush size, and we can whack the strength up here and just smooth out all of this terrain from the road out to the edge of this road here. And we will actually do that just further along because we'll have some more houses in here. So we get this kind of platform going in which we can build on. So a nice flat area here. Now alongside this road, what I am going to do to make it look a hell of a lot better than that is put in a retaining wall. So there's just a retaining wall, concrete retaining wall network, which you can find on the asset list, which is linked in the description. And yeah, we are just going to put it in alongside this road here. Now we might have to pull the terrain up a little bit further here, it looks like. But yeah, if we put it in like that, then we can adjust the terrain as necessary. So we can just push this back slightly further so that we can see that retaining wall there. So yeah, that will do. And then before I just check the heights and adjust all that, what we are going to do is continue this road on round. So now that we've got this connection up to essentially the next level, let's turn on those topographic lines again so that we can see what we are working with. We just want to bring this road out and round, following those lines as much as possible, but obviously there will need to be some deviation from it as we try and spiral up this hilltop. Because this is still quite cliffy here, we'll just upgrade this piece of road to another raised road like that, and then do exactly the same thing and just push in the terrain right up against that road here so we've got a flatter area to work with. So we'll take the retaining wall again and just bring that round to the end, and then what we can do is adjust it so that the height marries up to the bottom of this raised road here. So we just need to bring that into a place and do a little bit of adjustments. So there we go. So just a little bit of move it and a bit more terrain flattening here gives us a nice raised road there so that we can get some more layers of height in. And now the other side, obviously it looks pretty dodgy going the other side now as well. I'm just going to actually, before I do anything, just slope this node here because I feel like it's quite flat. So that'll just give us a slightly smoother connection there, yeah, which is absolutely fine. So what we can do here, again, let's get our topographic lines on so that we know exactly what we're working with, is bring off some road connections. So I will actually just start here and we'll bring out, make sure that it's going to terrain height, we'll just bring out a very simple, very small bit of raised road like that, and then we will force the road onto the ground again and bring it, give us a slight curve here, and then bring it out and round, trying to follow one of the topographic lines. So what I have done there is just come in and put in some road network for our tiered housing. So I've just literally circled it round, following those topographic lines as much as possible, and circled it round so we get this nice tiered effect for putting in our residential assets. What we are going to do up the other side of this road is actually just bring the land out here so that we get a bit of a cliff edge up that other side. So that essentially you're driving up this road, you've got the retaining wall on one side, and you've got cliffs coming right up to the edge of it on the other side. And then that also gives us a flatter area to work on top to put some more residential in. And then so what I am going to do on these really quite horrible looking cliff edges right here is use some of the rocks that we can sink into the ground. So the same ones that we used over in the leisure district in Williams Point. So we can take these and just sink them right into the ground like this, and then move them right up to the road so that it gives like a proper nice cliff edge to it here, and much nicer than just using the themes cliff texture that we have. So what we want to do is find these rock assets which have nice smooth sides to it, so exactly like this one as well. So it looks absolutely huge, but then you sink it into the ground and it does look an awful lot better. But actually this side is probably a little bit better for this cliff edge, so we can use it like that and then sink it all the way in so that it's nice and tight to that road, level with the surface on top, but just gives us a proper cliff edge along this road here. So these are great little assets from the workshop for detailing up these tiered layers when you have some slopey terrain. So I have just been round and put in rocks all around these cliff faces here so that we now have nice flat areas to place housing in front and behind them, but just covering up those cliff textures to make that look an awful lot nicer than it does just without doing anything to them. And there's little areas that we do need to come in and touch up with a bit more detailing like here, but in general that is going to be the shape of it. So the types of buildings that we are going to go for here are going to be ones similar to Bel Air that look pretty nice and expensive, that sort of thing, because ultimately this area is going to have views of the downtown, which will be right over there. So it would be quite expensive real estate next to the marina as well. And we are also in a second going to add in something a bit special on this peninsula too. So yeah, we're definitely looking for assets that look a bit more expensive. So something like this is not too bad. It's not, I don't want anything too tall here, but we want buildings that will look nice. So yeah, that one's okay, and we have used that in Bel Air as well. So we could have a couple of those right in there like that. So I think in front of these buildings we'll have something a little bit lower so they're not completely blocking the view of those ones. So if we put in just a few of these buildings and then have a little look at alignment, what I would like, just to vary it up, is one that is placed slightly further back, so quite close to those rocks. They've got a nice little patio area with a table out the back there that you can sort of imagine them sitting in and looking out over the water perhaps. And then we just get a few more different interesting shapes here as well, if they're not all uniform and lined up against the road. So yeah, I think something like that works well. And again, we can just check that by coming in and looking at the orientation. So yeah, I like how that is building up in the layers of height there around the rocks. And again, there's lots of detailing to be come in around here, and foliage, playgrounds, parks, fencing as well for safety aspects. Also a lot of that needs to come in. So we will come through and detail a lot of this up later. Now, just thinking up the top here as well, because we've got these tall buildings in there, it would be good to have something with a prime view. I think something super tall just looks a little bit strange. But what we could have is, yeah, potentially some of these where they've got the quite nice balconies overlooking. And actually, nothing's going to go directly behind those two tall buildings because we've got the rocks right up to the road. But we could have a couple of these in round in a circle like that. The one trouble with these is I find they're very high density backs to them. Like they look very blocky, but then the fronts look nice. And obviously the garages are on the front as well, which causes some problems for me because I want to get a road around there to give them access. But I think here where the space is limited, what we will do is just use paths to essentially make that look like road access round to the back. Yeah, we could bring out this smaller version of it as well if we just flip that round, and that could fit into that little space there quite nicely. Again, just to add a bit of variation. So if we just float back down to the harbour and have a look at how that looks from down here. So when you're coming in on the ferries, you can see those different layers of height. And yeah, you can see those white ones at the top. So they have still got a view. So it does still work, even though we've got these tall ones out the front there. So yeah, I'm liking how that is building up. So let's go ahead and get a few more residential assets into these spaces. And there we have it. So I have put in quite a lot of high density residential all around here and built some of these assets into little blocks so that they look, breaks it up from just the normal vanilla single building assets. Here we've done a couple of green cities blocks, kind of end to side, not back to back quite, but that sort of thing there. Again, just to build up those layers of height. I'm making sure that I'm not blocking the views from these top condos. I'm thinking that there'd be the absolute prime real estate here. And then we've got, yeah, just some more kind of basic blocks down here. And then I've introduced some low density residential into this corner as well. And I'm quite liking how these colourful houses here, these kind of townhouses, look when they're tiered as well, when they're going up a slope like this. They look pretty good. And I think my biggest tip for working with residential going up slopes like this, if you're kind of tiering them like that, is look for the assets that are only 2 blocks wide, because they tend to tier a lot better. If you've got one that's 4 blocks wide, it's going to push the landscape a bit more. So look for those narrower blocks in an area like that. But yeah, lots of detailing to do in between these. So we need to bring in some parks into this area as well, because I had a look and there are absolutely none down here bar the things that we've got on the marina. So we definitely need to do that. I'm thinking a park right up in the centre here would definitely be needed, but certainly some others. The other thing I do want to introduce into here is a few more services though. So we don't have any fire coverage. I'm thinking this block here is kind of almost services block. So we could introduce a firehouse in here, but also police as well. So we do have a police station on Bill Air over there, but we could definitely probably do with another one, I'd say, in this area. So again, I'll put one in this block and we can move them around to make that nice in a second. We've got our medical and our child healthcare clinic in there as well. But the other thing is an elementary school. So we're right at capacity. We're not going to put a high school out on this island because I think that's unrealistic. I don't think people would travel out to an island for the high school primarily. So we need to definitely get a high school in on the mainland. Our population also is building up really nicely at the moment, which is quite exciting. And we've got demand for industry, which I haven't done industry for a really long time in Auridon. So I'm super excited to get onto another industrial build as well. But we definitely want an elementary school in here. And I am just going to... I'm not sure that the European one really goes with the vibe of this area. This one looks a little bit more modern and more sleek. So I think we will just use this one. And it's a bit more space saving than the community school from the Green Cities DLC. So yeah, this is the one I think we'll use in this area. And of course, like always, when I come to do the detailing time lapse, I will flesh out that playground around that area as well. Just extend those fences which are given to us there that are just screaming out to be extended. Yeah, if we have a look over here as well, what might be nice here is to actually move the child healthcare clinic so that it's opposite the primary school, so we can swap that with the healthcare clinic. So we've got the hedge at the back there again, which we can line up so that they make a bit more sense together. So if we just pull that over slightly, then yeah, we can make sure those hedges are merged so that it looks consistent and like one hedge. We can do a little bit of garden, I'm thinking, behind this. So what I would quite like to do is grab that same hedge, which is this one, and we can come in with a prop line tool here and create, yeah, a bit of an extra garden onto the back of the medical clinic, I'm thinking, because we've got this hedge here. So we could just kind of extend its boundaries into this area. Let's just make this slightly closer so we get rid of the gaps there. And we'll bring that up like that and then merge it into this hedge that is already here. Just like that. And then we can do some more detailing in here. So bring in some extra trees, maybe some nice plants. Turn this into a nicer looking garden for sure. I'm thinking just a few trees like that would look nice. We could use Bob to swap those trees out as well. Actually, which we have. I don't know how many times we've used this medical clinic and not done that. But we definitely should do that. I'm just thinking, what's this? Norfolk Island Pines. That would be a good one. So we'll just swap those out for there. There we go. So we've now got nice consistency around the medical clinic. And it now also blends in with the rest of Auridon as well in terms of the tree theme. So that's a good move there. And then, yeah, just in the back, I think just a couple of little bits of extra foliage would do absolutely fine. And really nothing more than that. It doesn't need to be any kind of landscape garden at the back of the medical clinic here. But just a couple of extras would look nice. So, yeah, that will do. That helps to fill out that area. And then we do have this space as well between these two buildings, which we could introduce. I think we will just introduce some more car park here. So if I turn collision off, and we'll bring in a very, very small parking lot road here. And yeah, the trouble is that concrete might go out the back. I mean, we're not going to have many spaces in here by any means at all. But just a few, I think, would be worth it. A couple of benches will do absolutely nicely at the back here. Nothing more than that needed. So that fills in that block quite nicely. Yeah, we'll come in and extend the playground. And yeah, I think really the only other thing we need is a lot of detailing around all of these houses to fill in some of those green spaces. And then the other consideration down here as well is a tiny bit more commercial, which I think would go nicely in front of the ferry here. Now I do want to make sure there's walkability, and I am going to bring in bike paths at some point. I know a few people have mentioned that. We are definitely going to have bike paths at some point in Auridon. I'm thinking some point soon, because we need to make sure that we're not going to run into any traffic problems. And hey, while we're at it, let's have a little chat, shall we? So we're at 84%. Apparently we haven't got enough parking for the golf, even though there's a massive car parking lot right in front of it. But I think we'll ignore that one. See, it is just getting busier around all of these roads now. And with the new junction, yeah, it's not too busy on the new junction actually, but people are definitely using it. Again, we've got several really dark red patches, but there doesn't seem to be traffic backing up anywhere. It is just super busy. So we will just need to continue to keep an eye on it. What are these cars doing here, stopping on the bridge? So let's just have a little look at that. We can get this node. Let's just say keep on going so that you don't stop there. And then hopefully that should resolve that issue. There we go. And now they're stopping here as well. I think we've maybe got a few nodes that are too close together here. So let's just say keep on going there as well. And hopefully that traffic will start to flow through properly. But yeah, let's just have a little look at the commercial out the front here, because what I'm actually thinking is we could introduce some slightly bigger, more modern commercial buildings down here. So something like this may not be too bad. Andy's bowling alley. You can imagine the bowling being near the ferry potentially as well. And actually it doesn't look too bad with the terrain going backing onto the road like that, with the ground sunk in. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's not too bad. So I think we can keep that. And then we can introduce another one of the same building types right in next to it, I'm thinking. Although the door for that is there, so we do need to be a little bit wary of that. So actually we will have to leave a gap there and have this one just next to it. I think what we will do here actually is just spin this round, so we've got the door on the front. So we've got Sir Cut-a-Lot and Burned Bean Coffee, yummy. I think then final building we'll introduce this, and what I might do is turn this into a bit of a cafe with some tables and chairs and things out the front there to make a little bit of a courtyard, just to make that look nice against this ferry area here. I think that will do from the commercial point of view, but what we will do in the detailing time lapse is come in and build out on this with a lot of detailing. Like I said, put in the cafe forecourt here to make that look like a restaurant or a bar or something like that. Definitely add some detail. We might have some food trucks or something along the waterfront here, might look quite nice. But yeah, a lot more detailing around here to flesh it out. But I think the final thing before we go ahead and do that detailing is to come on to this peninsula. Now, everything in Auridon, I'm kind of thinking in mind that the central business district, the downtown, the pinnacle of the skyline is going to be right there. So this is quite a, could be quite a central point to that. We've got this small island here as well, but I'm not 100%, I haven't quite decided exactly what we'll do with that. Probably nothing. But we do have this highway bridge coming in over here. And from here, they'd be able to see the downtown over there, but also this peninsula pretty prominently. So what I would like to do, ideally, with this is actually make it into a little bit of a kind of Liberty Island type thing. But yeah, we are going to use the Statue of Liberty out here and have it as a bit of a central focal touristy point for the end of, well, Bill Air and this yet to be named island as well. Now this, I don't think, if we have a look. Oh, and we've done it. We've finally got to 17,000. Excellent. So yeah, we do have the Liberal Arts College campus. Now the big debate is whether to come onto that in the next episode or some industry, because our demand is now telling us that we need more jobs. So I haven't made my mind up about that yet. So it'll be a surprise for the next episode. But yeah, we've got to 17,000. Excellent news. Excellent news. coming back to this, yeah, I don't think that having it at this height is actually prominent enough for me. So it, it stands out, but because this map is relatively flat, I think we need some pinnacles of height. So like if we come over here, we've got our monument here, and it's not super high, but it's high enough that it can be seen from quite a distance. And granted, you can see the Statue of Liberty in the background there, but I think it just fades a little bit more into insignificance than I would ideally like. So let's just scoot all the way back on over to here. And what we are going to do is, dare I say it, try and raise up the land here a little bit. So I'm reasonably happy with the grade on that road. It's at 7.5%, so it's not too bad. But ideally, we don't really want people driving up there. So let's have a little look at getting a cable car in. And yeah, I'm thinking, I mean, if that is too much of a cliff, we'll have to see if we can bring the cable car down. But yeah, I'm thinking just like a kind of a pretty direct route just down to the road, probably down here, and we can do a car park next to it. So if we just literally bring it straight down, how is that looking? What we can do is actually just grab this node and raise this up a little bit to help that make it a slightly smoother transition. And that is a very, very steep pole, granted. Again, we can come in with some rocks and a bit of detailing to help make that look a little bit more okay. Is probably what I'd say there. So yeah, we just want to tidy up some of the terrain, I think, around here. Make it slightly less deep and a little bit more moundy, certainly on this side at the very least. So we can use a bit of slope tool here just to vary up those textures. And I think what I will do as well is bring out some of these slopes a little bit further and hope that we don't upset the water too much here. So I've just done a bit of terraforming around this to make it slightly less square and blocky. And I think that is looking a lot better now. So we can come in with lots of rocks, foliage and decoration to detail this all up. And particularly as well down the slope here, we'll do lots of detailing with rocks and foliage and things down there. Very natural looking. And then down here, what we do need to do is definitely bring out a large car park for people to get up to the Liberty Mount. Can we call it that? I don't know. So let's bring out the car park for now. And I'm going to just bring it off this side road, I think. And then have, yeah, a reasonably large one in this space. So we'll just need to adjust this a little bit to get it in. So what I will do then is just add in a little bit of pathway for a connection between this car parking lot and the cable car. Now that I've seen this, I am going to ban cars on here as well, because that's just too many people going up here. So we'll ban cars, buses, taxis. Don't need trucks on Liberty Mount, but we'll keep obviously SOS and the recycling bin vehicles in there. Now taking a look at the tram network as well, because we definitely want a spot right up here. So I'm thinking right there would be good, so that it's close to people walking down from these houses here, close to the cable car, so they could just hop on that, get back down here to the ferries. And I'm thinking actually we may as well just add in another stop here, so that it's slightly easier access to getting down that path and across into the ferries there too. But the one thing we don't have here is a line going in the other direction. And it wouldn't really make sense to bring this in and loop it round. So what I think I'm actually going to do is just put in a little bit of a pointless line, just in a really small circle here, going in the opposite direction. So mirroring all of these spots. And of course, we do want to have a couple more spots down here for these guys as well. And we will just make that the same colour, I think, or a similar-ish colour, slightly different. We'll make it slightly darker so that it stands out and we know which one's which. We've got 4 vehicles on there, which I think is way too much. So let's just dial that down We'll leave it on 3 for now and see how it does. I don't think this line is going to do that well because it is just going in a circle, which is not that useful. But hopefully it will help to take people from the ferry up to the cable car. I mean, they could walk that. I know they will definitely walk that. And then I will just add the stop on the other side of the road here for that direction. But I think, yeah, that should be pretty well covered in this area now. So I think really that just leads us on to a lot of detailing. So yeah, I'll be looking at detailing out all around these houses, Liberty Mount and down by the ferry stop here. And then really on this island, all that will leave is this smaller area over here for some unknown usage at the moment. So I'll go ahead and do that detailing and I'll be right back. And there we go. So yeah, we've done quite a lot here. I think it's turned out okay. It's a very rocky area. That's all I can say. So we have to convert this beach into rocks because I didn't think it just didn't look right, kind of going back to beach from this big rocky mound here and then down into the quay as well. So up around the Statue of Liberty, we've done a lot of rock work. So we've got a mixture of the rocks that you sink into the ground, the bigger ones, and also the kind of broken surface rocks as well, with a little bit of undergrowth. Not too much. I kind of kept that reasonably clear because I want the view to be just completely clear. Like there's no trees around here apart from a couple of smaller ones back here. So very, very minimal. We've got the fence going all the way around the side as a bit of a safety railing. And I have just used nature reserve there because I like the aesthetic of it. I know up close it looks a little bit run down maybe for such a kind of grand tourist site, but I like the aesthetic of it more than farm fence going up as a railing like this. And we've got the cable car working, we've got 18 people using it, so people are using it. That's good. That's good. So coming onto the tiered housing, we have just tidied up the surfaces, put in some bushes around it. Up here, I haven't done too much around the houses. We've put in some car parks at the back up here. But then, yeah, I've put in the Paradox Plaza up here and put a statue on it because I felt like it needed something tall in the middle of it. And I wasn't that keen on a fountain. But I kind of like the sort of standing around looking at the statue. But I like how that's turned out. And then using prop line tool here to get some tiling work in a circle. Like the only problem here is where it's a little bit glitchy. And I'm actually just wondering now if we can fix this up. There we go. Could have just done this in the first place. So yeah, there we go. Fixed it. I think. Yeah. So we've got, yeah, nice circles of different tiles here. I just thought to kind of give it a bit of interest up the top here and decorate it out more than just the plain boring pavement around the plaza. So I think that's come out quite nicely as this little viewpoint on top of the hill, and there's tons of people going up here. Kind of need to bring a bus up here or something to help them out. I mean, I should have really thought about the cable car connection, but it's not going to work. So yeah, they've just got a long walk down the hill at the moment. But we can definitely have a think about bringing a bus in there, I'd say. And then around the rest of it, yeah, just little touches of detail here. I did go a little bit overboard on this section and put in a big pool with some nice flower beds, some loungers and that sort of thing for them because there was the space there. And that would be quite a nice pool to go and relax in, I'd say, with the views down over all the other rocks and down the cliffs. And then over here we have the schoolyard, which we have, of course, extended out, added in a bit more play equipment, just some benches and some planters and that sort of thing. But very, very simple. Very, very simple indeed. But yeah, I'm liking how this has come out as tiered housing. It's not looking too bad. And with all the rocks, it kind of goes into the whole Auridon theme of greenery, and rocks seems to be creeping in there as well. But yeah, keeping that going here and just having that as a really rocky mount. And it kind of works well with the harbour here where we've got the stone wall, the rock wall all the way around it. And if we just check that Statue of Liberty view from various different parts of the city, you can see it from, yeah, quite far away, even quite far down. You can just see that in the distance. So that's exactly what we wanted. So even from right over here, you've got that creeping up in the skyline. So yeah, looking nice there. And imagine if we come around on the tram ride again here, yeah, you'll see it from the distance over there. Now, I do also want to just check these ferries because I had a little look at them and there are, yeah, see there's tons of people waiting there. We've actually got busy ferries here. So I'm actually going to add a couple of vehicles to this just to keep this moving because people are using it. People are using it. Oh, look at that. And are they jumping in? A little bit, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Now, the one last thing that I did say I would come back and do as well is check on our Iron Grandpa. And do you know what? He has gone. So his taxi has finally come and picked him up, and he has abandoned his position in the middle of the road. But yeah, that was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. So yeah, that'll be it for today. So we've had quite a lot of progression. Our nature reserve has leveled up. We've got to 17,000 population. We've got crematoriums, got the liberal arts college. There's lots going on. We've got high industrial demand as well for the first time in a lot of episodes. So there is tons and tons and tons for us to do. But that is going to be it for today. So thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have enjoyed this, please do whack that like button. Drop me a comment as well with any name suggestions, any suggestions at all for the area. I'm really keen to hear your thoughts and to incorporate as much of your ideas as we can into Auridon. So let me know there. But otherwise, that is it from me. So I will catch you next time. Bye bye.